coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
Welcome back to BVarsity Live. Final segment. Got about 10 minutes to go here. We're going to talk. Some basketball rankings with Justin and Trevor. But first, Trevor,
yes.
The breaking news you had earlier. Let's repeat that for everybody and dig into it just a little bit.
Okay, first one: East and West. There was a third quarter melee on the court. Both benches cleared. The game was ended at that moment with both benches being cleared. That is an ejection and an automatic suspension for the next game, which means both teams have to forfeit their next South Yosemite League games, which means West at Ridgeview tonight forfeited, will be a win for the Wolfpack, and then East will not play at Tehachapi tomorrow night. That will be a Warriors win. So a lot of ramifications. Talked to Ty Hammond for a while today. He said this is not an indication on anything of the character of his kids, just an unfortunate situation, and he hopes that his players can learn from it. But that's a big loss to the Wolfpack, an automatic loss, which means that game at West in 2 weeks is going to loom even larger.
I mean, Ridgeview's basically one up in the league race now, as well as Tehachapi.
Yep. And then the second news, Sean McEwen, who's been the head coach at Independence Football, stepped down, indicated that he wants to spend more time specifically with his 7-year-old son, and the rigors of being a head coach no longer allow him to spend all that extra time. I commend him for understanding that situation and knowing what he needs to do. In that same time, he has now accepted a teaching position at Bakersfield High, where he used to be the offensive coordinator, and has stated that he will become an assistant coach for Paul Gola's staff. So,
when he used to be an assistant, he was the offensive coordinator for 2 Valley Championship teams there in 05 and 07, and so he's back, and I've heard, nothing confirmed yet, but there may be more changes coming or more additions coming to the Drillers coaching staff. And as well, Justin, something you mentioned, it's okay for Independence. Sean McEwen's a good coach, but because he's leaving, they have a teaching position to offer, which is something Centennial does not have for its position, which could, if you're an interested candidate, that could push you towards Independence.
Right. This happens a lot. Head coaches in all sports, mostly football, because of how much time it takes, they have to step away for a while, if not for good, to be with their families. And like Trevor said, you got to commend them on that decision. But most of the time, those coaches stay at that school and continue to teach. They don't normally leave. This time,
Kevin Sneed.
Yeah, Kevin Sneed's one of them. He stepped away for his health reasons. But, Sean McEwen decided to, if he's going to be an assistant coach and cut down on his time at practice, he's going to go teach where he's going to be coaching at, which does leave a teaching position open.
Right.
Which is big. If I remember correctly, Sean McEwen taught at least 2 periods of strong body and 3 periods of independent study, which is extremely attractive and for coaches to come look at. And so they will attract a few good coaches in there for that application.
And Centennial, the last I talked to Tom Haskell, they were still waiting to have a position open because they don't have that teaching position. Difficult position for Centennial to be in with a pretty good team coming back too. So the coaching carousel continues to spin. Last year, all the way into March, I think, before Garces hired Tim Anton Giovanni, and we could be looking at that sort of thing with Independence and Centennial still open as well. Into basketball rankings real quick. Justin, you're going to be with us tonight, Garces Centennial girls. I think we're going to look at boys rankings first, and I know you've done a little bit of research. What sticks out to you? What surprised you based on your impressions going in that you saw about boys basketball?
Well, I was able to watch the game on Tuesday night, which was a lot of fun listening to you guys and watching Centennial and Stockdale play. I've been able to see Liberty play, and I guess the thing that surprised me was Nick Papagmi putting Centennial ahead of Liberty. I'm sorry, Liberty. Yes, Centennial ahead of Liberty. I personally, and I love Coach Santiago.
Well,
at
we
Centennial.
have Centennial ahead of Liberty also.
I saw that as well. And I personally think Liberty's a little bit more consistent, I guess, especially after watching Centennial play against Stockdale. I think Centennial has a tougher time slowing the game down. I mean, they can speed it up with the best of anybody and really really run. I think they just lose a little bit of that discipline when it comes to a half-court game, and I really like Liberty's half-court game and the way they play.
It was interesting. Centennial, the last time I saw them was against Emmanuel, consensus number 1 team in the section. It was very much a half-court game, and Centennial really let that game get away. They were up by 15 points at half. Now, granted, Emmanuel was not playing very well in the first half of that game, but Centennial was, and then they let it get away from them, and some of that was, especially on the defensive end, that half-court execution against Emmanuel. They were leaving open lanes to the basket, and if you do that with Colin Slater, it's just put 2 points on the scoreboard because he's or 3 if you foul him because he's going to get the ball in the bucket. Okay, rankings real quick as we've talked about this. These are boys' rankings.
And just so we all know, as the season goes on, these were done Monday night after the MLK showcase, so they're completely
does
fluid.
not include Tuesday or Wednesday's games. You know, as we go on, Trevor, maybe we could make adjustments to these before.
I think I
BVarsity
do need
Live.
to make Thursday adjustments because when you look at it, Fresno High is going to jump back into the top 20 after beating Sunnyside last night in North Yosemite League action.
Because we all know you don't have enough to do, so we're going to make you do adjustments.
Yeah, Clovis
to these.
West obviously will drop after losing to Clovis.
To Central.
To Central, that's right, on Tuesday night.
So Central would be raising up there at 17th. Tehachapi, you saw them last night, Trevor, at 16. Still feel good about that team as a D3 title contender and a SYL title contender.
Yes. It will be a tough run for them against West and Ridgeview in league, and then same thing against West and D3. But whenever you have Isaiah Johnson and Johnny Saavedra on the court, those two are gamers and really can kind of change the tone. So
absolutely.
Let's
moving
keep
along.
moving on,
Sunnyside, you mentioned, lost last night. Stockdale.
Bullard's going to move up. Clovis North is going to stay the same. West, depending on,
don't think you punish him in the rankings for a forfeit, but interesting, nonetheless. Clovis
Stockdale
North
Liberty
now.
tonight will be funny. Sunnyside likely will drop. I'm probably going to see Sunnyside right below Fresno High in the rankings there in the mid-15s.
Okay. You see Clovis North nearly beat Clovis West before Central did, so you got to keep an eye on Clovis North as a mover and shaker as well. Moving into the top 10, as you mentioned, number 7 Liberty traveling to, right? It's at Stockdale tonight? At number 12 Stockdale. You better figure out where you're going, my friend.
Yeah,
Trevor's going to be at the game.
You know how many darn things I have on my mind?
I understand.
Ridgeview, Roosevelt, obviously 9-10 because that was such a close game between the two of them Monday night in Visalia. Fantastic game. Good final layup game winner by Jordan Roberts, not Justin Roberts.
He tweeted out that it was you who had the game-winning layup. Did you see that?
It's been a long time since I've had a game-winning layup.
6th grade, baby.
Let's go to the top 5 really quickly.
Hanford at 6. Now, Hanford is 6, and that's lower than most people have them.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change. Mission Oak, man, those guys looked good Monday night. Edison, they really got handled by Emmanuel, but I think everybody gets handled. Clovis West, I think, is going to drop. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in 2, 3, 4 in next week's rankings.
Centennial takes care of Garces tonight. Do you put them higher than 5 next week?
Yes.
Okay. So they'll be moving higher up into the top 5. Okay.
Girls rankings, top 20. These will probably stay about the same. Let's go ahead and move on since we got about 3 minutes
I believe
left.
Tehachapi lost to Independence last night, but that's not going to affect too much since they were 11 and 20.
I have not looked at to see how the out area teams have done yet. So we'll move past.
Okay, moving into the top 10. This is where you start to get into some of those D1 dark horses, a Hanford or a Ridgeview or a Clovis or a Bullard. Can they get into D1 and upset somebody, upset one of the 3 teams or the 4 teams we think will be in the Final Four, Centennial, Edison, Clovis West, and Garces? I think most of us think no.
If it is anybody but Clovis West and Garces in the D1 finals,
that'll be an upset.
I'll shave my head.
All right. I like it.
Keep that on video, Chris.
Chris, don't you lose this segment, my
I will
friend.
shave my head.
If somebody does keep... No, I don't think anybody will keep Garces or Clovis West out. If somebody keeps one of those top 4 out, I think it'll be Hanford, which could be a 5 or a 6 seed facing Centennial or Edison in the quarterfinals, and they might keep Centennial or Edison out of that Final Four. Chris is volunteering to shave your head, by the way.
the bald mad scientist himself over there.
I'm sure he's
Speaking of
figured out
shaving
how
the
to do it.
head, Justin, what's up, man?
I guess I can make the same bet. It wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Justin comes in with hair. I think it's the first time I've ever seen him with hair.
That's right.
The difference for me between Garces and Clovis West, the fact that Garces' only loss this year is to the number 9 ranked team in the state, and Oaks Christian and Clovis West did have the loss against that St. Mary's of Albany team. But body
Very
of work.
close, yeah.
But I mean, it is kind of a coin flip because neither of them are going to lose to any other team in the section, and so it all comes down to body of work outside and what they did last month and in December. And
I got to be honest, though, I'm kind of rooting for somebody else that we can shave your head, though. I forgot about Clovis North when I was mentioning the Final Four. Clovis North is very much in the mix with the other 4 teams to make a Final Four spot, but we think anybody would be an underdog to Garces or Clovis West. So that wraps our show for today. Again, tonight at 6:30, Centennial hosting Garces and girls basketball. Justin and I will be there. That's live on Bakersfield.com. Trevor, you'll be at Liberty at Stockdale boys basketball.
Yes.
That's a very big game. Liberty's got to kind of match what Centennial did if they want to stay in that race. But until then, we'll catch you live at 6:30 on Bakersfield.com, at Trev Horn, at ZUing on Twitter, at BVarsity Live.
At J-Rob.
Catch us there at J-Rob
05.
J-Rob 05, okay. And we are BVarsity Live. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye-bye.